I overheard my fiancée mocking me to her friends, calling me a sugar daddy, and decided to secretly use her contacts for my cousin's modeling career. I, 29 male, have been dating my fiancée Bella, 25, for almost a year now. Bella is an aspiring model and is extremely stunning, so much so that for the first few months I could barely even believe I was with her. My friends couldn't believe it either because I'm an average-looking guy myself, and even though people do say that looks aren't everything, it did feel strange for me to be with this woman who was so conventionally attractive, and I was just a normal-looking guy. I was content with just dating, but then, 6 months in, she started dropping hints about wanting to get married. I was smitten with her by then, so at that point I would have done whatever she asked of me. So I decided against proposing to her 7 months after being together, and she said yes without a second thought. My friends and family were a little taken aback by how soon it was all happening, but as long as I was happy, they were too and didn't question it much. We've been relatively happy in our relationship, and even though we've had our ups and downs, I believe that the love we had for each other was real, and it was for me at the very least, if not for her. But then, around 3 months ago, she invited her friends over to help with wedding planning. I'd been napping in the bedroom because I was feeling really under the weather that day, but after a while, I got up to get myself some food. But then, I stopped right outside the kitchen when I heard Bella and her friends talking about me in the living room. I was just out of their sight, and they couldn't see me, so they continued talking crap about me and laughing at their own mean jokes. They were making fun of all my insecurities, and I could feel myself go red in the face standing there. But it all got worse when Bella herself joined in and made a joke about how she'd bagged herself a sugar daddy with no looks and was basically living the dream. There was a lot of laughter at that horribly insensitive joke, and so I went back to my room because I'd heard enough. I didn't even want to know what else she had to say because my insides were on fire. I wanted to dump her on the spot, but I kept my cool and decided to play the long game instead and use her for my own sake, just like she'd been using me. I'm a web developer, and I earn well enough, so I'm the one who's covering all the bills because Bella can't afford to. She's just starting out as a model, and so she doesn't get paid enough for her gigs to actually be able to afford the lifestyle she wants, and neither are her parents rich enough to fund it for her, so she relies on me heavily for money. She even moved in with me just 2 months after we started dating because she told me she didn't have enough money to cover rent at the time. I told her she could stay with me for a while, but then she never moved out. And ever since then I've been paying for everything she wants. I'm the one who pays for her cabs when she has to travel for auditions, for her clothes, accessories, makeup, and whatnot. So she's not entirely wrong. She did bag a sugar daddy, but I'm just a couple of years older, so I don't think that's accurate. After I overheard her conversation with her friends, I went back to my room, and I was contemplating breaking up with her over this. But then I decided not to dump her because I had a way better plan in mind. I have a cousin who's also trying to become a model, and I knew for a fact that this cousin of mine, let's call her Irene, 23 female, was loaded. Her father was a hugely successful business tycoon, but unfortunately, he didn't approve of his daughter's career choices since he believed that it was too risky. And so he wasn't going to help her out until she bagged some gigs on her own. She'd moved here a few months after I met my girlfriend, and I knew that she'd appreciate my help. But Bella stopped me from giving her a head start by telling me how competitive the modeling world is and that Irene could potentially become a threat to her if we helped her with getting contacts. So, unfortunately, Irene had to struggle on her own to make a place for herself because while she did have her dad's credit card, she didn't have any contacts, and she was really young. So she didn't know how to network either. But after what I overheard, I made up my mind to help Irene out, and in exchange for that, she just had to send me half of whatever she made through every gig that she landed through me. Then onwards, I started keeping track of all the auditions that my girlfriend and friends went to, and all the people I met at those auditions, and then proceeded to send those details to Irene. Sometimes she'd get the gig, and sometimes she wouldn't, but every single time she'd send me a whopping $1,500 because she was mad at her dad for not helping her out. It was a bit much, but who was I to complain? If she wanted to teach her dad a lesson, and I profited off of her anger, then heck, she could be as angry as she wanted to be. I was cool with this arrangement that we'd worked out because I was getting richer with every passing month. Of course, I had to hide all of this from my girlfriend because she'd definitely get suspicious if I suddenly started expressing any interest in these things I'd never bothered with earlier. So this went on for a couple of months, and with time, I stopped feeling anything for my girlfriend at all. I still didn't dump her because I was using her contacts and stuff to help out Irene, but other than that, I'd keep my interactions with her to a minimum. I'd be romantic and sweet to her when we were together, so she had no clue what was really happening. I'd also told my parents I wasn't actually going to marry Bella just a week after I found her talking crap about me behind my back, so while they didn't know the details of my situation, they knew that no wedding was going to take place. But I didn't tell Bella that, obviously, and she continued to plan and told me to book the venue and the vendors, which I agreed to, but never did. This week, several things happened at once, and she finally found out what I'd been up to. The invitations were supposed to be sent out this week, but like I'd said, I hadn't made any arrangements, and in addition to that, my cousin Irene finally got signed to a really reputable modeling agency. She was incredibly grateful to me, and even her dad was, which is why he sent me $5,000 for helping her out all through the way. They're pretty generous if I'm being honest. So a few days back, when Bella asked me if the invitations had been sent or not, I decided to finally come clean to her and end things. I'd spent quite a few months putting up this facade, and now that I had made enough money off of her, I didn't feel like putting on this show anymore. Irene was where she wanted to be and wouldn't need my help anymore. And I didn't have any feelings for Bella either, so there was just no point in staying with my girlfriend any longer. So when she asked about the invitations, I decided to tell her the truth and said that I hadn't made any arrangements for the wedding at all. In fact, there was no wedding at all. Now, she was obviously stunned by that and asked me if I was joking. So then I finally told her that I'd heard her little joke the other day, and I hadn't forgiven her for it. When she asked me why I'd stuck around for so long, I told her about how I used her to push Irene's career ahead, and how she paid me handsomely for all that I'd done for her. Now that I was finally telling her the truth, there didn't seem any point in hiding anything from her, so I was completely honest with her. She was flabbergasted when she learned what I'd been up to these past few months, and her reaction was nothing short of hysterical. She was crying, screaming, and being all melodramatic about how I'd betrayed her and used her. I told her that this was all happening because of what she'd said to her friends behind my back, and she started talking about how it was just a joke. Well, it wasn't a very funny one, and it was actually really hurtful and demeaning. We argued over that for a while, but then she just gave up and told me that I'd betrayed her in the worst possible way over a joke, and she'd never wish this even on her enemies. She had a complete breakdown over it and said that she'd actually loved me, but I hadn't even deemed her worthy of a discussion and decided to essentially ruin our relationship over a silly joke. I stuck to what I believed in and told her that for me, it wasn't just a joke because it hit a little too close to home. Jokes are meant to be funny, not downright malicious, which is what her joke sounded like. And it wasn't just what she'd said that hurt, it was the fact that she'd been sitting among her equally vapid friends, and they'd been making fun of the way I looked, but she didn't even try to defend me and instead joined in on the fun that they were having at my expense. That's what hurt the most. I was the one who was paying for every single thing that she wanted and making sure she was happy all the time, so I definitely didn't deserve this in return. In fact, I'd started working even harder to provide for the both of us, so it obviously hurt to hear her make fun of me just because I wasn't as conventionally attractive as she was. She packed her stuff up right after the argument and was gone within an hour. I didn't try to stop her either because of how angry and hurt I was, so there was nothing that could have been done to prevent her leaving. The next 2 days, I drowned myself in work so that I wouldn't have to feel anything. I mean, I'd obviously fallen out of love with her a while back, but I was still used to having her around, and sometimes I'd feel like I could fall back in love with her again. But now that it was all over, I didn't know what to do with myself or with the empty house that I'd come back to. This morning, I received a text from Bella saying that she still did love me and was willing to work things out if I wanted to. Did she miss me terribly and couldn't imagine a life without me? I haven't replied to it yet because I honestly don't know what to say to her. I don't know if I miss her, or if I love her, or if I want to get back with her or not. I just don't have an answer for anything at this point because my feelings are actually all over the place. I don't know what to say to her. I feel like a total jerk for what I did to her. Maybe she was right. Maybe I overreacted and completely blew things out of proportion. AITA for using Bella to push Irene's career and get rich myself? Update 1. So, I didn't reply to Bella's text. I read a lot of the messages in the comments on my post and realized I might have been out of line for what I did. And I was even about to reach out and apologize to Bella for whatever happened. But then, I received a text from a friend of hers saying that she had something to tell me. She sent me a screenshot of Bella texting her, saying that she needed a place to crash for a while until her loser boyfriend, referring to me, patched things up with her, or until she found someone new. This friend of hers told me that apparently Bella had sent this to their entire friend group and had claimed that she'd left after a fight, but she hadn't yet told them what the fight was about. Her friend didn't feel comfortable with the fact that Bella was still talking badly about me, even though we were supposed to get married in a couple of months. And so she felt like she had to tell me what Bella had been saying behind my back and get it off her conscience. She didn't know that I was already well aware of what Bella had been saying about me, but I'm thankful that her conscience kicked in at the right time and prevented me from apologizing to Bella and taking her back in. I dodged a bullet there. All the criticism and flack I've received for my decision to stick with Bella just for revenge was perfectly valid, and in fact, that was what made me rethink my stance in this whole situation, and almost made me apologize to her. But unfortunately, we were all being played, since Bella really did deserve whatever I did to her. Maybe if it had been a normal and less self-centered human being, then I would have believed that I was in the wrong here. But it's Bella, after all. She's literally the epitome of narcissism and selfishness. I can't believe that she was willing to get back with me just because she needed a place to stay. Which isn't really surprising, because she had become pretty lazy in the past few months. She'd only go for auditions and do nothing else around the house, but I was perfectly happy with cleaning up after the both of us, since she was the one helping me bring in the big bucks from Irene. She didn't even go shopping, so I was actually saving more than I was spending. When I saw that screenshot, I was so thankful that I hadn't texted her back yet, and after this, I wasn't going to get back to her anyway. She was just a despicable person in general, and even though what I did to her was nothing short of psychotic, I'd say she totally deserved that. I've blocked her on every platform possible, and I'm even thinking about moving out into a bigger apartment so I don't have to deal with her anymore. I already made a lot of money thanks to Irene and her dad, and I'm due for a raise at work in a couple of weeks anyway, so I might as well get a head start on the move and start looking for places. My friends were pretty surprised when I broke the news to them that the wedding was off, since they had no idea. But when I filled them in on the details, they were kind of shocked that I'd even pulled off something like this at all. Some of them believe that she deserved it, while the rest think that I took things way too far, and I should have just ended the relationship the day I heard her joking. I bet everyone will agree that she deserved what I did when they heard about her false confession of love, just so that she could continue to live with me without paying rent or making any contribution to the household expenses. Even if she does manage to find a guy who's willing to let her move in after a few months of dating, I don't think that there'll be a guy as stupid and smitten as I was and let her live off of their money. But who knows, maybe she might. It doesn't really matter to me anymore, and I'm just relieved that she's gone now, and I won't have to deal with her in the foreseeable future. Thank goodness. Update 2, I was wrong about getting rid of her so soon. I guess she realized that not everyone will be okay with her lifestyle and won't just blindly agree to let her live with them and spend their money. That is, unless she actually starts looking for a real sugar daddy, which is another story altogether. She somehow got a hold of me from a different number and started texting me to blackmail me into letting her move back in. Her strategy was definitely very off, because she was trying to threaten me by saying that if I didn't let her move in until she found a new boyfriend, then she'd tell everyone that I'd used her for her contacts in the modeling world to help my rich cousin out. I hope she does realize that unless she tells people the full story, they're just going to think that I was being a good relative. And I hope she's not naive enough to believe that she can just talk crap about me to people and I'll sit back and let it happen. I told her that if she talks about me, then I'll definitely talk about what she did, and it will all be out in the open. She also has a significant following on Instagram, so this will affect her a lot more than it'll affect me. She hasn't replied yet, and I hope she doesn't, because I'm getting really sick of her. Update 3. As if bothering me through text wasn't bad enough, Bella showed up at my workplace today. The receptionist had to call me to meet her because, apparently, she refused to leave without seeing me first. I had to take her to a nearby cafe so that I could talk to her without embarrassing myself in front of my coworkers, because I could tell that Bella was very close to throwing a temper tantrum when I saw her. And that's exactly what happened once we sat down to talk in the cafe. She started whining about how I'd been unfair to her and that she deserved a second chance, regardless of whatever she'd done, just so that she could prove to me that she was capable of being a good girlfriend under the right circumstances. That really caught me off guard, so I asked her what she meant by that statement, because as far as I was concerned, her circumstances couldn't have been better. She lived a completely stress-free life and paid for nothing, and apparently that's what she meant by circumstances. She told me that I'd spoiled her rotten by letting her walk all over me, and if I'd stood up to her more often, then she might have been more attracted to me. I was too weak-willed and too average-looking already, and on top of that, I had absolutely no self-esteem, which made it so easy for her to boss me around without feeling guilty, which is why she said what she said. But now that she knew that I'd been secretly playing her for a fool, she was a lot more attracted to me and could finally take me seriously as a potential boyfriend. I'm not even making this up right now. I actually thought I was going to laugh out loud right in her face when she was saying those things, because it was just that ridiculous. I don't even know if this was some last-ditch attempt at getting me back, or if she generally meant whatever she was saying, but it was hilarious. There's no doubt about that. The gaslighting and manipulation were so crazy that I ended up telling her that I'd think about what she said and talk to her later, because I was trying really hard not to laugh. She made me promise her that I'd talk to her once I got back home. That's another reason I'm glad that we broke up, because she used to baby talk to me every time I was upset with her. I don't know why. I guess she thought infantilizing herself would make her seem more desirable to me or whatever, but it just grossed me out. I was just too nice to say anything to her. I got back home half an hour ago, and it's just insane to me that even after all that has happened, she's still trying to get back with me just so that she'll have a place to live. It's actually kind of pathetic that she's so lazy and so dependent on a man that she can't even be bothered to have some pride and leave me alone. I'm not going to get back in touch with her, and I'm going to make sure that the next time she tries to contact me, she knows that she's no longer welcome in my life. Update 4. So it's just been a day since Bella showed up at my workplace, and today she called me from a friend's number again. I answered the call because I wanted to end things once and for all with her. When she asked me if I'd given any thought to what she'd said, I told her point blank that I hadn't. And even if I was held at gunpoint and asked to get back with her, I'd still say no. I kind of went on a rant and told her every awful thing that I'd thought about her and let her know that she was a pathetic mess. And I wasn't willing to deal with her anymore, so she should probably start looking for somebody else to leech off of. She argued with me, saying that the reason I had a crapload of money right now is because I'd used her and her contacts to suck up to my rich cousin, so I should be the last person to talk about leeching off people. Our argument kind of escalated after that point, and there was a lot of cursing and shouting, but after a while I realized that there's just no point in arguing with a deranged idiot like her. I don't even know how I fell for her in the first place, but I guess she was pretty and charming enough to make it work. I just told her that I wasn't going to entertain her bullcrap anymore, and if she tried to contact me again, then I'd post what she'd done on Instagram, and that would be the end of whatever little fame she'd earned for herself. So she realized that it was probably not a good idea to keep arguing with someone who could expose you and ruin your reputation within seconds if he wanted to. And she hung up after calling me a bunch of names and cuss words. But I don't even mind that anymore. It's a small price to pay to get rid of her for good. I'm just not going to date anyone for a while and go to therapy so that I can work out whatever esteem issues I have, because I most certainly do have some, or else I wouldn't have acted equally crazy.